everyone. Welcome to the Kindling Project podcast. I am thrilled today to welcome my friend and fellow Goldman Sachs grad from cohort 9, the best cohort. And I recently joined a business mastermind with her. I'm in NAWBO with her, and I just all around love and admire Pamela Mack. She is founder of the Mack Law Group, co-owner of Detroit-based Bricks for Kids, and a children's book author of My Name is Judah. Welcome, Pam. How are you today?
It's great to connect with you. Good to see you again.
I know. I had the good fortune of seeing you twice in 1 week.
Oh,
What a treat. Yeah, I'm so excited. It's hard in the summer to keep all your obligations going and with so much up in the air. So I feel fortunate that we're getting to have a second chat.
Me too.
Yeah. So let me tell you guys a little bit more about Pam's bio. Pam is also the author of the monthly blog, The Nosy Lawyer, and she is the founder of the Mack Law Group, which specializes in, oh gosh, Pam, I got my notes out of order. Hey, Kat, we're cutting that.
Are we going to be video? Is this video too?
It is. She edits the video.
Okay,
but
cool.
I had a little bit about your firm. Okay,
no worries.
And where did I put that? Maybe I don't need to read that.
No, I mean, you can ask me about the firm.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Quick plug, so that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. So let me tell you guys a little bit more about Pam's bio. So during COVID, she started another business, the Mack Law Group, which specializes in high-value small business clients. She deals with their business needs, their personal needs, their legacy planning. Tell us a little bit more about Mack Law Group, Pam.
Hi, Melissa. So I'm really excited to tell you about our firm. So we started in 2019, right before the pandemic. Because of my background, the goal was to come out and help business owners to negotiate their contracts and, put them in the big leagues with the experience that I had working for large companies. Well, COVID hit and the pandemic hit. And everyone was calling not for business contracts unless they were trying to get out of them or figure out how they, maybe, what provisions still remain during the pandemic, but mostly about estate planning. People had, they watched a lot of things happen around them and said, hey, let me take a look.
Get my affairs in order.
Make certain that I get my business in order. So we went from the Mack Law Group that minds your business with corporate transactions, real estate, IP, and data privacy to minding your business and minding your legacy, which includes the estate planning. We're Bloomfield Hills based. And like you said, we work with business owners and their families.
That's awesome. I know we had a lot of those same questions. Pam has also recently been selected to the National Black Lawyers Top 100, a distinction awarded to top Black attorneys in each state. And she's been featured as an executive in Court Business Magazine. And she's the past recipient of New Business of the Year Award for the National Association of Black Accountants. She's been featured on PBS, American Black Journal. And she's just such an impressive person. The idea that she can start and scale multiple businesses. I just think of her as this can-do person. Whenever the challenge shows up, whether it's COVID, whether it's business problems, whether it's legacy problems, she's just there with why not me? So tell us, did you always want to be a lawyer? I kind of read that your mom always wanted you to be a lawyer.
She did. She was that mom that, could really take a look at her kids. There is a saying that your kids will tell you who they are. If you watch them, they'll tell you who they are. And if in my mom's case, she was always paying attention to our gifts and talents. And so she started speaking into my life very early. Well, you're going to be a lawyer. Oh, Button. She used to call me Button. Button's going to be a lawyer. And it didn't matter that I graduated from undergrad with a business degree and decided not to go into law school, she continued to say, I believe you're going to be a lawyer. And sure enough, a couple of years after graduation, it was time to think about grad school and where to go next. And I thought, I have my business degree, but I have no interest in getting an MBA. So I guess I'll just go to law school and do what my mom said. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you had told this kind of charming story about how you used to watch the legal shows with your grandma. So maybe even before your mom planted the seed, something was going on there. And I thought it was just so cute and sweet that what you really liked about it was the big desk, right?
I
The
did,
big desk and the
it wasn't
authority.
it was never the courtroom. So I am not a litigator. I don't
Uh-huh.
even, if it whispers of courtroom, we don't handle it
Right.
because I'm a transactional lawyer. So what I liked about, the court shows that you rarely see is the lawyer sitting behind the desk shuffling papers. I could just see myself. And literally, what you see in your mind's eye, it's amazing how it can come to pass. And so, yeah, I love being behind a desk and negotiating deals and moving papers around. And so, as evidence of my home office, it's just, yeah,
Yeah.
it shows.
Isn't that the truth though? It's really how you see yourself and it's the seeds that people plant at a young age that come to fruition even when you buck them and you try not to have them. They show back up for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I'm so careful in what I speak into my son's life.
Right.
What you say as a parent, into your children's life, it has so much more meaning than you think it does.
Yeah.
It just
Well, and you
does. And
had some
so,
people plant sort of some negative seeds. You said there was a college professor that was very negative about lawyering at one point.
that's really such a great reminder
Right.
to me about what happened to me. I was a freshman and always said I was going to be a lawyer. And she made some offhand remarks. I
Right.
won't say specifically about what she said about lawyers and lawyering and things like that, but she was such, you're an impressionable 18-year-old.
Right.
And what she said made me think, oh, well, I maybe need to consider a different career. So it literally took me into a different career path. I'm glad that, the words that my mom spoke and just my own desires kind of overtook it. But that was years later. So again, I always say to people, you don't even realize as an older person when you have an audience of young people, how impressionable they are. Like you
Yeah.
just think you're making an offhand remark, and that could literally change the trajectory of their life, right? So,
Absolutely. That
literally,
stuff sticks with you.
it
If
does, it
somebody
does.
tells you that you can run fast or you're a bad singer or you look like a lawyer or you don't look like a lawyer, this kind of messaging, it sticks. It sticks.
Yeah,
We
it really can.
we had a guest on recently, Princess Castleberry. She's a fantastic public
Hmm.
speaker and coach,
Yeah.
and she talked about how when she was in her early years of corporate America, being told, you know, you don't look like corporate America, and just how much that hurt and how much that offended, and also really kind of riled her up to be like, I'm going to show
Oh, yeah.
you what corporate America can look like, and I'm going to stick it out here even if I don't look like everybody else, so that there's at least one person who looks like me at the table.
Right. And, the other thing too is, as we're talking to young people, at the same time, as we're talking to adults, to be mindful of what they speak into young people's lives is so important to, as parents, as mentors, as, aunts and uncles, to really impress upon our young people that if they have a vision for their life, that's really what matters. Of course, you take wise counsel. You always take wise counsel. But if you have a vision for your life, that's what's important. Nobody else gets to determine for you how you live your life. So to instill in them this sense of self, strong sense of self, so that they can walk into rooms where people may not feel like you belong in that room,
Right.
to say, no, I know where I'm going. I have a plan for my life. I have a direction in which I'm going. I understand you're an adult and then I can take in what you're saying and I can go and filter it through wise counsel. But at the end of the day, this is the plan I have for my life.
Do you
You
think you
know,
had that confidence at a young age, or do you think you acquired it over time?
I think I acquired it over time.
Yeah.
I think as you get experience, as you get to know yourself a little bit more, you get to understand your capabilities. And I come from a family of very uh, confident individuals. My dad was an entrepreneur. He was one of the top in his industry, in every industry that he pursued. And my mom has always been an entrepreneur. And was very confident in the things that she could accomplish. And a lot of times, as I was growing up and I had doubts, and she would just kind of look at me like, are you kidding me? you
Right.
know, you've got this, you got that, you've got, your education far exceeded mine. Like, what's your deal? What's your problem? And so, yeah, I mean, I think with anything, it grows over time. You get to understand your own capabilities, the more success breeds success kind of thing.
Hmm.
We still go through, I think as adults, we still go through those doubts and insecurities. I mean, look, for goodness sake, I started a law firm, 3 years ago. And
Right.
so that takes some level of going back into my experience to say, okay, you've done some things before.
Right.
This is something that you, so just a quick story. My dad has always been the entrepreneur of entrepreneurs. Like he could sell anything. He was like extremely talented, identifying emerging markets, things like that, always really successful. I never thought that I could be a successful entrepreneur. Seriously. I mean, like, look at me now, like years later, but I always wanted to, I always worked for, you know, corporations, large corporations, could go in there and like, I'm good. I got
Right.
this salary. I'm
Right.
good. Like, I don't have to know bookkeeping. I don't have to, do this other stuff. I don't have to actually go out and do anything to make this happen. I could just go up. I can go into my office and make, to earn a living. And so the idea of becoming an entrepreneur just was like an offense to me. Like, no,
Right.
no, I'm not doing that. But again, you go through life, you get experience. You're like, oh, look, I actually
Yeah.
can do this.
Well, and I know from knowing a little bit about you personally, like a lot of Gen X women, you face some challenges of going through a divorce and becoming a single mother. And I didn't go through a divorce, but motherhood really made me look at entrepreneurship as an opportunity to maybe control my schedule more and maybe balance work and kids when they were little and work from home. Or it did mean I spent a lot of late nights and weekends working, but then maybe I could go to the Halloween party in second grade, right? So
Absolutely.
that was one of your deciding factors as well, I think, right?
Absolutely. So, Melissa, had prayed a very, very long time when I was married for a child. I'd always wanted to be a mom. And so it just came a little bit later. And prayed
Me
a long
too.
time.
Me
And so,
too.
yeah, so I got this, so God blessed me with this beautiful little boy. And I happened to work about 25 miles one way from where I
Mm.
lived, and then another 15 miles another direction to go and pick him up. And so my daily commute was, travel like over, sometimes 60 miles a day.
Ugh.
And, great position as in-house counsel because you can manage your schedule. Unlike my ex-husband, he could not manage his schedule. Litigation, you're on, you got to do what you got to do to get ready when you get an emergency litigation. So we had this household where I could kind of manage my schedule, but I was driving like crazy. And, so days when he could, was scheduled to pick up Jeremiah, he might not be able to, et cetera, et cetera. And so one day picking him up from school, I can remember it. I was like, do you have Jeremiah? And it was snowing. And he was like, no, I thought you were going to get him. And
Oh.
so I ended up having to quickly call the school and, with the latch key. So, he stays after school and it's snowing. And I thought Rich had picked him up. Rich hadn't. It was
Oh.
and I get there and my little guy is sitting on the bench with his thumb in his mouth. And I said, at that point, I was like, Lord, this is not why I prayed for this child to have
Right.
him, in school, after school, last one picked up sitting with his thumb in his mouth. And so that really changed the trajectory. Again, this word that I can't pronounce, I keep wanting to say it, right? It just changed the course of
I don't know why that is. You just slip up on
this
it,
word.
right?
I just want to keep saying that word. It just changed the course of my career and my life. And
Yep,
and so and it all works out, right? It
it
all worked
does.
out. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna go get a job working as the chief operating officer of a company. My skill set is gonna be, the type that would be attractive to anybody. Again, you gain that confidence when you start to realize, like, whoa, I've done a lot of stuff for this company. So I
Mhm,
thought I was going to find a position close to me. And it just wasn't happening. And so, as it turns out, and so I guess this is going to kind of be a segue into how I ended up starting Bricks for Kids with my business partner. I was like, my kid likes to play with Legos. And
mhm,
so I happened to come across this franchise had a combination of Legos and STEM.
mhm.
And not only did it serve, the company Bricks for Kids, the franchise teaches kids STEM using Lego bricks. And I said, what great way to be able to s- spend some more time with my kid and at the same time be of service and a blessing to my community, because the types of activities and educational exposure through this franchise just was not available at the time in Detroit. And so we launched Bricks for Kids and did super well. And we're still, it's still a business of mine. I'm a part owner now and just kind of working more in the background as we're ending our franchise. But wow, what a great opportunity. So I got to get up every day and take care of my kid and have him, act like he's the co-CEO and run the camps and things like
Oh,
that.
that's so cool. See, and
Yeah.
this goes to my point that I was making up front is that you just seem like a person who just jumps in, right? You just, whether it's corporate America, whether it's the law firm, whether it's a franchise about STEM education, and then on top of that, you wrote a children's book, kind of inspired by
Yeah.
Jeremiah. Do you want to tell
Yeah.
everybody about this? I mean, we kind of focus here on guests that have an amazing kindling project. And then I think about you, Pam, and I'm like, she's got a bunch of kindling
Little
projects.
Kindling projects all over the
She's got
place.
these like sparks and fires all over the place, right? Tell everybody about how you also wrote a children's book.
Yeah. So, again, and it sounds like, oh, well, just hey, just jump in and
Right.
like, okay, there's this need. There's no, a lot of prayer and consideration. That was, leaving a job that people covet in the legal
Right.
industry to
Right.
kind of launch these things. It's never easy. There's a lot of tears and a lot of praying and a lot of, consideration.
It's
How is this going to
risk
impact
taking.
it? It's a risk, so it wasn't easy. It was, it was
Yeah.
painstaking, but, you know, again, it's sort of my philosophy in life is like, if not now, when,
Right.
right? If
Yep.
not me, who?
Right.
And so, even with the book, and so, um, looked around. Well, the story is every year, my church, at the beginning of the year, we go into prayer, and it kind of starts the year. It enables us to kind of set some vision, goal through
Hmm.
prayer.
Yep.
And I come up from prayer one day, and I was like this whole manuscript just kind of hit me. So I
Right.
just kind of wrote it down. I wrote it down like very quickly, this idea about a little boy who has a unique name, who has four friends, and they sing and they talk about his unique name, right? So
Hmm.
I write it on a little 8 by 11 sheet of paper, put it in my office drawer. Didn't give it much thought. I'm like, I don't know the heck, how the heck do I start?
Right. Right. Right.
Write a
Right.
book. Like, not like now where everybody can self-publish and there are all these, wonderful tools that you can use. I had no idea how I was going to do it. And then as Jeremiah started to, he's my son, Jeremiah. as he started to grow, I started to look around and on bookshelves, I'm like, where are again, Jeremiah has lots of books. He has a book by Spike Lee, at that time he had a book with Spike Lee and others. But I did not see on the covers of books, my baby's a brown boy, right? And so I didn't see it on the shelves. And I was like,
Right.
I sure would, this would be kind of nice. And so I started to go about thinking like, okay, I got this manuscript. How can I do this? So I created this book called My Name is Judah, which is a really fun project. I already had the manuscript. I just went out and found the illustrator and someone to help me to pull the whole project together. And so it is. It's a book called My Name is Judah, which Judah in Hebrew means praise. And so it's all about this little boy who has friends. He has friends that are, he has an Asian friend, a Caucasian friend, a Hispanic friend. They go about, discovering his name and enjoying themselves. And it was really important to me to have a book that was both multicultural. And it just really resonated with my community. They loved it. I would just put little postcards around and people would just start buying it. So yeah, another project. That's kind of fun.
Another project. Yeah. I think that that's very inspiring for other women that are, maybe they have a book idea or maybe they have a cause like representation and so many women do have a successful career like your corporate career. I can relate myself of, I have had a design agency for 12 years and it's gone through its different phases, but we have a lot of longtime clients and it's very successful and I'm proud of it and I'm proud of the work. But something happens at different points of your life where you get an idea or you have a little spark that there's something else for you. And that's what I want to be here for, is to encourage those little fires, those little other things that we haven't gotten to yet. And that's what the Kindling Project is for me. It's my Kindling Project of talking to women about what else have you got in there? Because I feel like there's a lot of sleeping beauties that, they're going through life and maybe they're doing well or maybe they're struggling, but there's something else for them that they're afraid to get to. And I think you're an inspiration of just get to it. Say your prayers, put it in the drawer, wait till the time comes, but don't let go of that information that comes to you or tugs at your heart, right?
Melissa, I'm so excited that you're doing the Kindling Project. And you just don't know, sometimes you're just like, okay, I got this idea and I'm going to run with it. What a blessing to be an encouragement to so many other people. I know who your target audience is, but to see other people, because sometimes, listen, sometimes we just need to see other people and say, well, they did it.
Yes.
I can do it too, right? There's nothing. Right. And my mom used Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we tell ourselves, oh, they did it because they're special or they're privileged or they had more support than I did. But I find over and over again, that's really never the truth. They just did it. They just took the chance, right?
Right. I remember when I was young, my mom put us into a school district, which at the time was like one of the very top in Michigan, if not in the nation. Very well known for educating really, talented people. And so I would come home and I was like, Mom, these kids are talking about world events. I mean, that was before YouTube, before, 24-hour news. I mean, they were basically like, how do they know about like Nixon's what's going on with the, Watergate? Like, goodness gracious, these are little kids, right? And so I remember when I would come home and I would say that, because that was, in my mom's mind, me being intimidated. Like, I don't belong in the school district. I don't know, these kids are super smart or whatever. And she would always say to me, she said, how many eyes do they have? And I was like, 2. She said, do they have a nose? Yeah. They have like a mouth? Yeah. Ears? Oh, do you have those things? So what are you talking to me about? Like, it was just sort of like, you can do it if they can. If they're smart, so are you. Like, what are we talking about? You're wasting my time here. Like, really, it was to my mom, you're like, she would just say, you're wasting my time talking about comparing yourself to these other kids who you think are smarter than you. And I would just say this to your audience, of people who think, they may look and say, oh, she's a lawyer, or she's like, listen, the whole world, all these really talented people, you'd be amazed at their backgrounds. They just said, someone else did it, I can do it as well. And I
Right.
kind of, that's kind of how I live my life. Hopefully I'm instilling that in Jeremiah. Right.
Oh, I'm sure that you are. I'm sure that you are. And it's really kind of a fake it till you make it. You don't have to feel the confidence every day. Some of the most successful people I know don't feel the confidence every day. They just keep
Do
doing
it.
it. They just keep walking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. So, I'm sure there were some hard lessons along the way. Are there any kind of things that you picked up that you'd like to share with our audience? What would you do different, or what are the pitfalls to pursuing a kindling project?
Let's see. Um, I think there's advice. I think it serves people well. Advice
Mhm.
that I received is, very early in my career that I think has really served me very well. I would always make excuses about not turning in. I did pharmaceutical sales for a very short period of time
Mhm.
before I became a lawyer. And I always I had to work with my district manager, and I could never turn in my reports on time. I just didn't. They were never on time. And so every time that I would meet with him, he would say, Pam, why are your reports late? And I always had an excuse. And one day I'll never forget, we were sitting in the car, and he just stopped when I made an excuse. And he said, you know what? He said, Pam, the next time I ask you and you don't have it, he said, take ownership of it and do something about it. So instead of giving an excuse, just say, okay, I acknowledge that they're not done,
Mhm.
and I will do better. And let me tell you how well that has served me in my life. So it was embarrassing, but at the end of the day, it's all about growth, right? And
Right.
so years later, when I became an attorney, probably about a month into working for my general counsel, he came in, he was really angry with me because I dropped the ball on something, right? And he was like, you could tell he's like, oh, great guy, one of the best people I've ever worked for, but he was really upset about it. And I listened to what he had to say, and I remembered what this district manager told me. And I said to him, I said, Tom, I dropped the ball on that one. It will
Right.
not happen again. And let me tell you, that has served me well, because what it did was it disarmed him, because people are not accustomed to working with people or interacting with people who take responsibility. I think our
Right.
human nature is to make excuses,
Right.
like, oh, or even lie about things. And
Right.
so that has served me really well. It served me with clients because, look, we're all going to make mistakes.
Yep.
Everyone's going to make mistakes because no one is perfect. You do the best that you can. If you drop the ball, just say, hey, I dropped the ball. I will do better. I think that goes so far.
Right.
It raises the level of um, respect, I think,
Right.
that people will
Well,
have for you if you say
and
that.
honesty, like honesty and vulnerability to say, look, we all make mistakes, and I make mistakes, and I'm doing the best I can, or I'll do better. I think
Yeah,
it sort of levels the situation, because it's not like he never made mistakes, right? The angry boss, I'm sure he
exactly.
made mistakes. Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
I mean, same thing
Right.
with clients, we don't like to, I mean, particularly lawyers, a lot of what we do, people's lives hang on it, right? One
Right.
mistake, one misfiling, things like that. So I think that what you do is you work as hard as you can to bring the expertise that you have to the table and double check and triple check it, right?
Right.
But again, we're all infallible. And I think that my clients have a lot of respect for me because I'll tell you exactly, what's going on. I'm not going to make excuses for things, right?
Right.
So Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned and advice that I guess I would give other people. Like bring
I've-
your authentic self, but let your authentic self be a person of integrity, right?
yeah. Yeah. I think that creates safety for everybody.
Hmm.
If they're allowed
It does.
to say I made a mistake, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. So what's next for you? I know you have the blog, I know you have the business. Um, is there anything you're promoting or any kind of special thing that you're doing now you want to share with our audience?
I am growing this law firm. I am growing this law firm.
Yeah.
We're adding associates, and eventually, my vision for the firm is for it to last beyond me, to
Ah,
have attorney associates and other partners in the firm. And so that is my concentration. Listen, you can be, you've heard of the jack of all trades and master of none. That's not what I want to be known for. I want to be known for my expertise in the law. My son is, of age right now. I'm still running around with him. He's quite talented as an
mhm,
athlete. And in other things. So I'm doing, I'm spending life with him and running around and
mhm,
going to track meets and concerts and things like that. But our main focus right now is growing this law firm. We want to, spread the word that we're here for business owners that are, in their inception. They're trying to, fledgling business owners that are they're getting off the ground. They've reached a point where they feel like they really could use contracts. Of course, all entrepreneurs, everybody needs an estate plan. And I think what we're doing right now is getting the word out about how estate plans don't just relate to trust fund babies, right? It's
right,
everybody has to plan because we're not going to get out of here alive, right? And so making certain that both the businesses that we're creating and the families that we are creating, that there's some protection, like we are taking care of those that we love upon disability or death. So we're just getting the word out. We're continuing to write our blogs. We're expanding and just doing our thing here in Bloomfield. So
it feels
yeah.
like you're thinking about the legacy of your own business and then your personal legacy, but that's exactly what you're serving up for others. Is thinking about their personal legacy and their business legacy. Is that a common um is that a common combination in lawyering? I mean, I tend to think of like, oh, we've got our business attorney and our estate planner, and they're two different people. So, is what you're doing typical for a small law practice, or I guess I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I think that what I discovered coming out of the pandemic, I think, as I'd indicated before, that I thought I was going to serve business owners in drafting contracts. I really did.
Right, right,
And, again, sometimes you get calls and they shift you, they pivot you. That's the word we all used during the pandemic. They pivot you
right,
in a different direction. And in serving my clients, I realized like many of them are, they were just starting businesses at that time, or their businesses were starting to take off. And then, kind of they needed to pivot. And then what I realized is that in discussions, because our blog is called the Nosy Lawyer, right?
right,
And the reason we're called Nosy Lawyers is because we want to get to know our clients, not because we just want to be nosy about their business. We want to know who you are. We want to know about aspects of your life that could impact your legacy, right? So as
right,
we started to serve people, we realized, oh, you have a business, but who else do you have on that business in case something happens to you? So in a pandemic and you are in a hospital for 20 days or 5 days, who's paying your employees? Who is authorized to pay your employees? Many of these individuals are solos that brought on, key people but never put them on accounts, never had financial powers of attorneys, things like that. So as we start, it just became a natural sort of thing for us to do, to
yeah,
work with business owners on both sides, whether that's typical or not. You see in bigger law firms larger law firms have a number of different practice groups.
Mm.
But for, sort of a law firm like ours to kind of take that on, we just realized this is a niche. This is a need in the market,
It
and
feels like
we
it.
got to
Yeah.
fill it. Yeah,
Yep.
we have to fill it because every attorney, every business owner that we work with typically has a family that's why they're building their business, right? You and I, we
Right.
talked about this lots of time with our kids, and we're building, um, a, we're building a business and we have a family. Like
Right.
they are so intertwined. And so they
Right.
should be, from a legal standpoint, taken care of on both ends. So, whether it's typical or not, we're definitely filling that niche, I think.
It it makes perfect sense to me, and it seems
Hmm.
it's very appealing, especially once you find somebody you trust and you can talk to. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah, corporate law tends to be kind of perceived as a little bit stuffy. um,
Yes.
you know, Sort of like the guys just get together in the conference room with the white shirts and bow ties or
Yeah.
ties. And, women, we're in that space now, but traditionally have not been in that space, even more so for minority women.
Yeah.
We represent a very, very small minority of lawyers in the space. And so just want to make our presence known. And then, two, because you have to have such a relationship of trust, we want to make ourselves approachable, right? So that our clients feel comfortable with saying, "Hey, Pam, just question for you. I know you're handling my contract, but what's going on? This is going on in my household, and we need to kind of look at this as well. So can you help us?" So we want to be approachable so that these conversations can be had.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm so proud of you, and I can't wait to watch you scale. I think that you'll have to come back and have another conversation with us about scaling. I think that's a whole other kind of kindling project because it's building a business and then it gets to a certain point, and then how do I scale it? How do I grow it? How do I get myself out of it in a way that it runs when I'm there and when I'm not there, or for the next generation? So
Yeah.
it's
Well, I hope that
exciting.
we are going to have that conversation. You and I belong to several groups. I definitely don't. You can come and talk to me in a couple of years. Some of the other CEOs in our group would be much better suited to talk about that.
Yeah.
And that's why you're in community with people, right? So that you get
Right.
to, really benefit from the lessons learned from others that have been at it a little bit longer and certainly successful with it. And I'm just so uh, really honored that you invited me to come, Melissa. I've always liked you so much, and I
I know. We just have
have
a good
even
we
come
just
to
sort of have a
enjoy
connection, right?
a good
I think
vibe.
maybe
Yeah.
we have these boys that are the exact same age, and we had them at I don't know, our advanced maternal age. There's that whole thing about like being the older mom on the playground and being a businesswoman, and so I just think we have a lot of overlap. And um,
We
so
do,
thank you for coming
and
and
you're just
talking
such
to
a
our
great
audience.
person.
Oh, I really appreciate that. So are you. And I do think that was like a second bit of advice that you just sort of slipped in there of be in communities where you can get advice, right? Find the people
Yeah,
that are doing the things you're doing or you want to do, or um, that can support you. So that's what we're
yeah,
all about here at the Kindling
absolutely.
Project.
Yes.
So one thing we like to do at the end of these is we like to give a shout out to someone. Is there anybody that you can think of this week or this past month that you'd like to share a little add a girl, add a boy shout out to?
Um, can I do two?
You can do too.
Okay, I want to say shout out to my son,
Oh,
who has worked really, really hard on the track field to improve his scores and to get accepted and qualified for the AAU Junior Olympics. I'm saying that because he's worked so hard and I'm so proud of him.
yeah.
The other person I want to put a shout out to is my mom, right? So you've heard a lot about her. She is such an important part of my life. She took a fall recently and she had to have brain surgery. But her sheer tenacity and determination to get better has, and a lot of prayers have resulted in her recovering quite nicely for an 81-year-old who had to have brain surgery in February. She
Oh,
is a remarkable person. I have watched her, go from having to relearn to walk, to having to walk on a walker, to ditching the walker, to going back to, really pushing to go back to a normal life. And hey, just shout out to my mom. Super proud of
oh,
her.
she's a superstar. I want to be your mom when I'm 81.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, I think you will be. Okay, well, I'm going to give a shout out to our mutual friend Linda.
Oh
We were at
gosh, yes.
we were at her home earlier this week. Linda Schlesinger Wagner. She's the founder of Skinny Teas, and she's been a podcast guest here before, and she's in our online community. But she's really a great example of bringing women and men and business owners and community together. And I know that's what you and I care about. And she's just a
Mhm.
shining light in that arena. Just
She is,
always
and you
makes
know what? She just
she
makes
just
you feel like she's just a
welcome.
wonderful person. I
Yeah.
think that the lesson that Linda teaches all of us, as busy as she is running that very, very successful business, she always takes time out to give back. I mean,
Yes.
she's a remarkable, remarkable person. And she's just a testament to, as you give,
You
it's
get,
always
you
going to come
receive.
back. You
Yeah.
really do. Yeah. So that's my third shout out. I'll
Okay, we'll
piggyback
share
on
her
yours.
today. Well, I hope you have a
Okay.
fantastic weekend. It's so nice to see you again. Come back anytime. And to everybody listening to the podcast and who's in our Facebook group, the Kindling Project Ignite, you can find Pam there. You can find her law firm. She's an amazing resource. So,
Thank you so much, Melissa. And congratulations to you and your team for launching such an important and growing successful project. I'm so proud of you.
oh, thank
Kudos to
you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a labor of love. It's fun. Yeah. It's time to do
Yeah,
these
you
fun
can
things.
tell.
Okay.
It is, right. If not now,
Right.
when?
Like you said, if not now, when? If not me, who? All right, my friend,
Right.
I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you online and in
Okay.
person. Take care.
Thank you so much. Take
Okay.
care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.